user interface, what we see, what comes up on the screen, that, right? While Java backend developers, they process the user requests, whatever request you send, whatever buttons you're clicking, what to happen next, some data needs to be fetched, some data needs to be pushed, all those things, the something which happens behind the scenes, right? So backend services, it includes like logical processing, validation, database handling, all of those things then are handled by the Java developers. Now, to be a full stack Java developer, you must have a good understanding of both backend, something which is entirely logical, and front end, the client side, the user interface. And you should also understand the full stack technology and the skills which are required for it, right? So full stack web development can also be like being proficient in coding languages. You should know databases, right? Design and manage the UI UX and have soft skills as them. Soft skills are an important part. That's why I said soft skills. So you need to have soft skill along with the technical knowledge to help you succeed. So that's a Java developer. That's a Java full stack developer who's adept in the front end as well as a back end of any application and who can build it alone, right? So now the next thing is how to become a Java developer. How you can become a Java developer, right? How to start with, or what is maybe the process for becoming a Java developer? Anyone want to put it in a Q&A? So anyone who wants to talk, who wants to answer, please write. Very good. Please write in Q&A. Yes, certification. One is certification. So there are, different stages of becoming a Java developer. First thing, which is the very basic that we all do, is, start going for a college degree. But that has not, that has again been, I could say that is not true now, If you have the skills, the right skills for a job, even not the degree with you, means it's not important to come from an engineering background or a computer science background now these days to be a developer, right? You could be from a non-tech background and still with the right attitude and the right, tech stacks, you can become a developer. So that is one thing. Getting experience is the second one. To be experienced. Now you will say that, I'm just a fresher, I'm just starting out. Where does the experience come from? So I'm not talking about just the company experience that we have. I have an experience of working in so and so an organization, not that experience. I'm talking about in terms of your projects, in terms of your knowledge. So you should have enough projects to showcase that you are adept in the programming. And not only I'm talking about just Java programming when it comes to your, the whole software career, any programming language which you, want to pursue for, there has to be an experience of that sort. Now, experience doesn't only mean that you're experienced in, for any beginner, it's not just that we want someone, start working anywhere, that is experience. You're experienced in the practical knowledge of it, right? How many projects you've created, the tech stack that you've applied, the internship programs that you've done, that is also comes under your experience. Now, the third is the Java developer skills that you need, getting adept with core Java, the advanced Java, the ORM tools, the web techs, the frameworks which are there, the container, the application container like JBoss, the testing tools, Java EE, which is your advanced, which we said, like servlets, JSP, Java Beans, EJBs, the version control, which is again the GitHub. So these things, they help you become a better and a successful Java developer, right? So any question anyone have? Is it free or not? You're talking about today's Guru class, it's free. Okay, now what is an object-oriented programming? So if you are going to start with, Java, this is a term which will come. Like this will come most frequently to you. Object-oriented programming, OOPS concepts. What are the OOPS concept? What is object-oriented programming? So Java is an object-oriented programming language. This is the first thing. Okay, means. Now the meaning behind it is that it organizes designing of the applications of the softwares around objects. Now, objects like the objects that we have in the real world, right? Anything, even you're trying to make any game. So there are game objects, right? So you have a person in the real world is us, like a human, right? So all of those things you try to mimic, the real world into your applications. That is something relating to an object-oriented programming. You kind of organize the designs around objects instead of just logics and functions. So an object is an entity that has a unique identity, right? Sometimes it can be like a label, something. I talked about game objects. In that game objects you can have any game like Subway Surfer. I remember Subway Surfer. So there, this person was there. He used to, run around the trains. Now train is another object. Person is another object. He's collecting coins. That is another, object. So those are objects, and each object has their own state and behavior, right? So OOP development is based on around 4 key principles, which are encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. We'll talk about classes and objects later on in our later stages in the program. But the 4 key principles that you'll say are encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. Now, encapsulation, when I talk about encapsulation, it refers to a condition in which an object state, object state, private and enclosed within its, you could say, class. Now, class is something like a template, okay, is achieved. That is your encapsulation. So public functions cannot be accessed over here. Now, abstraction is when objects only reveal the essential details that you need to work with them. That is your abstraction. Something which is of relevance to your UI, you will be able to see that. Only something which is of not your relevance will be hidden from you. That is abstraction. Inheritance is something, if you try to relate it with the real world, what we inherit, right? We are like children. They inherit some properties from their parents. That kind of relationship is also used in object-oriented programming. Polymorphism means something that can exist in more than one form. That is your polymorphism. So many developers, they use OOPS principles to develop their projects. And there is another principle called as solid principles, which is solid. The full form of it is the single responsibility principle. O means open closed principles. L is your Liskov substitution principle. I is an interface segregation principle, and D is a dependency inversion principle. Fine. So that is the solid principles. It also, they also a part of your whole application development. And that was a brief introduction of object-oriented programming. We'll talk more about it in our programs later on, once we'll start with the classes, our whole, the program alone for FST. Now, you might have heard of another programming language, which is called JavaScript. Yes? Have you ever been confused between Java and JavaScript? It might have crossed your mind. Are these similar? Means it sure did mine, at one point when I was just starting with programming. I already did Java, and when JavaScript came to me, I thought, oh, it's the same thing, it's the same thing with just a little bit of difference. But it's not. It's the whole different language, So many newer Java developers, they need to learn about Java and JavaScript because they have similar names. And, in FSD, you have to do both of them, right? In full stack development of your Java development. So you'll be doing the client side and the server side both, right? So for that, for the web development, you need to do JavaScript as well. So many people, they often get confused with Java and JavaScript, and they are, however, distinct languages. They are different languages. Now, Java, it's a compiler language. This means that Java is translated into machine code, the code which is understood by the system, okay, your OS. Now, on the other hand, JavaScript is an interpreted scripting language that can be translated into machine code by its run. It's a scripting language. Now, Java and JavaScript have their uses, yes, and Java is used for client-side projects while JavaScript is for the server-side development. Okay, so JavaScript can be used for client and server both. That is one advantage of JavaScript. And it also comes in the full stack development of Java. So in full stack, you will be doing web. So there you'll be doing JavaScript as well. Okay, so that's a very brief thing to tell you about that, these two are different languages. They both are programming languages, yes, but they are different languages. They're not related to each other. Now you have a poll coming up now. So let's check how you guys are connected with me on this webinar today. So take your answer.
Everyone, just whoever is attending, kindly go ahead and answer the question so that we are aware that, whatever is being conveyed and you were getting it right. I can see a lot of you who have answered, but there are a lot of you who are still, not given the answer. I'll just close the poll in a couple of seconds. Done. Wow,
okay,
wonderful.
I see a lot of you, a majority of you have clicked on the right one. Yes, JavaScript is a scripting language. It's for making the websites interactive, right? Now, moving on, the difference between a Java developer and a software engineer. So not all software engineers are Java developers. That is one thing, right? So Java developers, they are often confused with software engineers, yes, and by new developers, they think all all software engineers, they are Java developers. However, these careers, they are also different. Now Java developers, they are highly skilled professionals who usually work only with Java projects, technologies related to Java only. Now, software engineers, they have more skills to work with different programming languages and projects. So many professionals, they switch between, Java developers and software engineers because they have the same skill sets and roles. This allows them to be more varied, now taking on new challenges or learning new skills, right? So these are two different terms. These are two different roles. And how you can make a switch between them, that is also all dependent on you, how you've actually build up your tech stack, right? Now, the next thing which comes is, what does a Java developer do? What do you think is the role or responsibilities of a Java developer? So Java developers, they have like varied work environment, right? And it depends on whether they are on an entry level or they are the junior Java developers, or at the mid level, maybe associates, and or the senior level developers. Now, entry level Java developers, you could say, these are with little to no professional experience. They're just starting out, or they are the freshers. They develop the programming skills, and they work on basic coding. Like the first task which we get, I remember, was to fix bugs. It could be that you can even be performing testing. You can be working with your team for planning any initiatives and the documentation if that is required. Thus, the second step which comes is a mid-level. Now here you need to have an experience, So you you might become a senior software engineer, kind of that role with like 2 to 5 years of experience as a Java developer. Now, additionally, you must be knowledgeable, about the architecture of your company, IT architecture of your company, and your work hours will be more productive. You will be working on the production. That is the one thing, if your skills are higher, than those of the entry level, then you are obviously the senior, kind of like a senior to them. You will be working on the complex code, whatever is a complex coding of your application. You will be responsible for that. You will be fixing some advanced bug, not the basic bugs, and you will be carrying out supervised testing. You will be preparing the whole environment for the Java project, the creation of your user document, which is the end user document that you provide, or you will be collaborating with vendors, and also you'll be managing your whole team, the junior developers which are there in your team. Then comes the next one, which is the senior most Java developers. Now you will be a senior Java developer with an experience of something which is greater than 5+ years, okay, and a deep understanding of your business IT system of your organization, right? So your work hours will be spent around reviewing or planning the complex Java projects in your teams. You will be supervising the junior staff. You will be looking over the work done. You will be responsible for all the meetings with the vendors, collaboration with the vendors, supervising the budget, the financial aspects of the development as well. So that will be your responsibility as a senior Java developer, right? So your daily tasks may also be affected by the size of your business. You could be doing all of those things even at a low level. I'm just saying, or even at a senior level. That depends on your team and also on the size of your business. So some developers, they're specialized because larger companies, they hire developers to handle testing, everything, the testing, the security, or the vendor management as well. So that is like doing multitasking, right? Now, the next thing is, what are the developmental skills? I saw a question which came up, so that when we'll be discussing the skills. Now let's discuss the skills that you need for your Java development. So what do you guys think? What can come over here? What kind of skills you need to become a Java? I think I discussed this a while back while talking to you guys. So anyone who can list out a few skills that you need as a Java developer? Frameworks, database, very good. Yes. So, you need to learn some fundamental skills if you wish to be a Java developer, right? So the fundamental starts from the Java programming skills itself. So Java programmers, they must create code from scratch. You should be able to write code from line 1, right? Everything. You do not need a template for that. That's what I'm saying, from scratch. And, to support various web-based and non-web-based projects as well. So you will need to be able to use Java to create new projects, or you can even try to fix bugs or update the existing projects, the maintenance of the projects, everything, and you need to be able to difference between what is standard edition, what is a micro edition, and what is the enterprise edition. So 3 different editions which were there. How to use the Java frameworks. So there are different frameworks, the Spring, the Hibernate, how to use them to their full potential, and how to use the development suites which are there, right? The version control, that needs to come to you. The coding skills, you need to test your code before it is deployed. That is the policy everywhere, It's not just about writing the code, doing the task. It's about the performance, optimization, as well as, testing it out, whether it's giving the right results or not. So this means you need to be able to perform unit functionality and single user performance test as well. So that also needs to be done by you, right? And, don't be like daunted with all of these things, that it's too much for us to do, but things takes time and also practice, right? So if you're just starting with anything and you think it's too much for me to get a hang on, you start small, but you practice around it, and that is the way you keep on learning things, right? The next is your SQL or the database skills that you need. And Java programmers, we often use SQL, the structured query language, to build and use the databases. So understanding SQL is also important. You should be able to be familiar with Oracle, like whatever is going on, the version which is like 12C is currently there, the Microsoft SQL, MySQL, or databases system, those things. Now, the project management skills, it comes a little later, but from the fresher state itself, you should be aware of that, like the SDLC cycle, which is software development life cycle. So you should be able to manage a project through and through, through all the 6 phases of software development, which is analysis, planning, designing, designing and implementation, and then the maintenance as well. So you should be familiar with the agile and the waterfall approaches of your project management. Project architecture skills. There are other, architecture skills, and you will be designing and building projects from scratch, right? So you have to understand a project's architecture, which is important, like the logical aspects, extensible aspects of it, and whether it is going to work in the long run or not. The next is the vendor management, which you need to have, because at one point you'll start communicating with the vendors as well. So it would help you if you communicated with the vendors which are there, the IT vendors, as many developers, Java developers, they work with them. So you should also improve your negotiation skills, your communication skills, where your soft skills come into play again, and establish a good rapport with others to make the communication easier with the vendors. And, that is again one thing that you need to work on. Now, knowledge of OOPS concepts. If you are a Java developer, you have to be adapted with OOPS, because it all revolves around that, So you should be familiar with OOP and the solid principles for the OOP development. That is, these are some basic skills which you need for the Java developer roadmap. There is another poll coming for you.
In the last poll, we got 80% response. I would request everyone to participate. It will, make the session more interactive, and you'll also get to know whether you understood the concepts or not. Okay, ending the poll soon.
Great again. So I see a majority of you have chosen the right one, which is again a very good response. Okay, so there are a few other things which I wanted to discuss, and that is, the other skills that might come handy when you've started on your journey of your Java development, like cloud computing, talking about DevOps, Docker. When you will be doing FSD, you will also be working on Spring Boot, REST services, the principles, right, of creating applications. Another thing is Apache Kafka. So these are the different things that you can, like Maven. So you'll be working with Maven as well. AWS. You can choose AWS. Jenkins, GitLab. That is all your version controlling. What you choose to go for. There are various other skills which go for service oriented architecture and etc. Why I'm not bringing that up right now is because I take that majority of you might just want to start with a career. So you need to see a roadmap which is going to help you out to plan your career out. The rest of the, the big terms, they come afterwards, after you are adept with creating kind of projects from scratch. The rest of the things we can learn alongside. Yes. So that is one thing. Now, the next which comes is the duties of a Java developer. Now, what do you think would come in the duties of a Java developer? What he'll be doing? We've talked about this, kind of the different roles, and time to time I've taken a few names out, like, collaboration with IT vendors. You need to, liaising with the IT teams where you'll be working closely with the Java app development company. As a Java developer, you will be attending the stand-ups meetings regularly. You're going to assist your colleagues. You'll be developing code. That's one part of the job, which is an important part, right? You'll be testing the code, again, an important, and implementing. So you will be a Java developer and need to deploy the code to make it available to the user. That is what the implementation means, right? So then the software problems, whichever are there, they can be solved. So Java developers, they must resolve errors in Java programs, as every project is flawed, So you will be responsible for diagnosing that problems, developing a solution, and then deploying that solution. So developers are often asked to help debug. Debugging is a very important aspect of learning to code. You should know how to debug. That is also an important aspect. That also falls under your responsibilities. Having the knowledge of programming architecture, then you need to prepare for any updates which are there, the frequent updates which come in, any change, based on how the real world changes. Sometimes any new thing comes in, we make changes into our softwares as well. That needs to be also there. That attitude to identify the changes and try to implement those changes into the projects. That is again one thing. Making the end user documentation, that's also one part. Monitoring the performance, the security of the applications, that's again one thing that you need to consider being a Java developer, right? Then the next is the roadmap. So we've discussed the whole roadmap of becoming a Java developer. You'll start with becoming a full stack Java developer. The full stack developers, they can work equally with the front end and the back end software, right? So which is the client and the server side respectively. And this versatility of them, they put them in high demand because you are aware of how to make the entire application end to end. So you will be the most sought after, person for the job. Why anyone wants to pay two different people, right? That is how you can see it in that way. So that this Java developer roadmap is not only the one which I'm going to share. There is different approaches that you can apply to, but it more or less remains the same. So you start with, the basic programming fundamentals of Java, or you call it core Java, let's say. Then you do front-end development, where you'll be doing CSS, HTML, Bootstrap, JavaScript, then a different framework, maybe like Angular or React that you can be aware of, or Vue.js, So you should be familiar with the UI and the other libraries, the Bootstrap, which I said, the Material UI if you want. Then you can, then you move to the backend part. So you are already aware of the programming fundamentals of Java. You can go and start with the build tools, which is Maven or Gradle. You can also have to have a knowledge of IDEs there. The ID could be anything. You can choose to start coding in Eclipse, IntelliJ, then you have Spring Tool, you have Visual Studio, whatever suits, to the organization and to you, you work on that. Now, backend developers, they need to work with different databases. So they should be familiar with relational database as well as NoSQL database. So for relational, the SQL, the MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, PostgreSQL. For NoSQL database, if you are trying to explore that area, you can start with Mongo. There is one for Apache, which is Cassandra. So these you can go for. Then you have cloud databases, if you've heard of DynamoDB. So you can be aware of any one which will help you. Or if you want to, Excel, you can even go for 2 different types of databases. Whatever, gets your task done. That is the main goal, right? Then there are different repository layers like Spring Data JPA, like Hibernate JPA. You also have to have knowledge of that. Then the building of the REST APIs in Java, maybe using Spring Boot, right? Or you might have heard of Jersey REST. You can even use that. The authentication, which is again, for that you'll be doing Spring Security, right? And there you'll be doing authentication, JWT, and the authorization, which is role-based authorization. That is the roadmap of becoming a Java developer. The developmental skills which we need, again, that is for that. Different skills that I needed to again bring to your kind notice is like the developmental skills roadmap. It's like learning about Git. Git is the version control, reading up of and having a good hold on data structures and algorithms. Familiarize yourself with the transfer protocols, the HTTP protocols, the request methods which are there. Learn about maybe deploying of the projects. Again, some very important, I could say, skills that we need. And these seem might be very insignificant. DSA, okay, fine, I know DSA, but the practice of DSA makes you actually a master of DSA, right? So we all know DSA. That is one fact. You started it in the college, but how much you retain of it, how you can apply that. That is what people need. So that is one thing. Now, what are the benefits of becoming? We have talked about all the roadmap. We've talked about different skills we might go for. But again, what are the benefits? What do you think would be the benefit of becoming a Java developer? Anyone who can say? You can write down. Anyone can let me know what are the benefits of becoming a Java developer? What do you think? So the first is, when we are talking about full stack development, it is independent. Yes. Yes, very nice. Big projects, career growth, very good. Yes, so you get the most out of demand, so you are someone who have the knowledge of front end and back end, so you are in demand. Now you're just one person who can handle everything through and through. So engineers who can work on all 3 levels, the back end, the front end, the database or the middleware, they are actually sought after, you could say. And big companies, they are offering higher wages to individuals like these who are multi-talented. So that is one advantage. You have higher pay than other developers. The competition for developers, it's fierce. It's fierce all over the world, all over the globe. And the majority of professionals, they are competent. Over a stack, you could say, to expect higher employability with good benefits, right? So the employment market has become highly competitive. So full stack developers, they have less competition and get offered a high pay range. Because of competition, because not everyone can become a full stack developer, but you can become a full stack developer if you have the right resources, if you have the right mentorship at your disposal and the attitude towards it, right? So you can help an organization operating costs by learning new skills and expertise, and this will result, in them being able to earn a decent wage compared to other, career options which are there. You have creative freedom in work. You have amazing creative freedom in work, and you are a web developer who enjoys the freedom to create. You will be able to work on both the client and the database sides of the program, the server side of the program. It gives you more creative freedom, right? Because now you can handle everything. You're not reliant on people, right? It also increases the productivity for the developers. Fine. So these are some of the benefits of becoming a Java developer. The next, which I wanted to discuss, are the different career options. But before that, I'll be taking a poll for you guys. Answer quickly. We're just about to end it.
Ending the poll, everyone.
That's great. I'm so impressed with you guys for being here with me and having the necessary communication, which is good. Great. So moving on to the last part of discussing some career options for Java development for Java developers. So there are many Java-based career options which an individual can choose from. They include, like, you can become a junior developer. When you start, you'll be a junior developer, right? So this can be considered as an entry-level position for you. So everyone, all of us have started from there only, maybe we started from an internship, then we went on and become a junior developer, and they are responsible for writing some code, testing. These are just basic responsibility they get to do analyzing and debugging the code. Then you get moved on, you get a promotion, right? And you become senior developer. Now they oversee an entire project. Maybe they also handle their own team and the task distribution. They kind of act as an liaison to the management as well. Then you have Java web developers, right? Now this position, it's typically emphasizes on the backend development, and the developer is also responsible for deploying and maintaining the code on the server side. So since many servers are moving to the cloud these days, developers should have an experience in skills in coding within a cloud environment as well. You also have a career option of becoming a Java architect or a Java EE developer and a Java Android developer based on what career path you choose. So architect is mostly be involved in designing, the conventional designing architecture of the whole project or the software. And they design and develop an applications layout. You have the EE or the enterprise, edition developers. They maintain the enterprise level applications and softwares, which, they get hired by big companies. They make some kind of business projects, you could say. Then you have Java Android developers. Now the Android mobile operating, we all are using phones. Some of you might have iOS. I have an Android. So now this Android mobile operating market share is considerably greater than iOS, if you're aware of that. And so there's a greater demand for professionals who can build or add features to Android-based apps. There also your Java is used. And the Java developers, they get hired for that. This is one other, kind of a career that you can go for. Other careers are also for you to choose from. That depends on how you get the opportunity and the skill set that you have, right? So I kind of have, winded up my session. Everything that I wanted to cover and share with you guys, the information that have been collected, from my whole experience so far. Anything that you have for me, let's start with Q&A. It's question time. So I have a question over here which says, is it necessary to learn DSA using Java to become Java developer? I say DSA is a must. If you are into Java development, then also if you are into any other kind of programming development, then also. It's going to help you a lot because DSA, it's the structure, the architecture which comes under it. So DSA is an important concept. It's an important, you could say, the whole subject in itself that you need to go for. Difference between MySQL and NoSQL, these are both different things. MySQL belongs to structured query language. NoSQL, there is no structured query language. It's for big data kind of, where the data is humongous. You cannot define it with the help of just the relational databases or the table format. In MySQL, you have the table format. The data is not just, kind of the extent of data is not too much, and you can handle it well just with the help of the tables. The relationships are also well defined. In NoSQL, it's not, the relationships are not well defined. You tell me how to say Java is a pure oops. You tell me, is Java pure oops? Anyone? Anyone who can answer, is Java pure oops? No, Java is not pure oops. Why it's not pure object-oriented programming? Because there are some primitive data types which you'll be learning later on. If you're not, if you're not into Java development, you'll be looking into that later on. If you are into Java development right now, if you've done Java, you must be aware that Java is not pure oops because of the reason of primitive data types. It has primitive data types. Primitive are like integer, int, byte, long, etc. Okay, which are not based on objects. That's why it's not, we say it's not entirely or purely object-oriented programming, because it has different, data types as well, the primitive ones. Then best repository to learn Java or to get idea of codes. I didn't get the question. Best repository to learn Java on GitHub. You're asking for GitHub repos, that from where you can learn Java? Is that the question? I mean, like, I'm not aware of that, that which is the best resource to go for. We offer a very best course for full stack development. If you want to get in touch with that, we can discuss regarding that. Is it mandatory to get Oracle certification for Java? No, it's not mandatory. As long as you have the right skills, you have the right attitude towards working, and you understand everything, it's good to go. So it's not mandatory to have the Oracle certifications. Okay, very nice. I see the answer, that it's made oops later with wrap. Yes, that's the right one. Then I have something like I see one question over here which says, whose language pure oops? I think the question was, which languages are pure object oriented? You can say it's, if you've heard of Scala, it is there. If you've heard of Python, Ruby, these are pure object oriented languages. There are many more. Okay. These are two different things, Shaya and Ahmed, that when you talk about backend development, but if you're going through a Java developer roadmap, you'll go through Spring Boot. And if you're going through MERN development, you'll go through Node.js. So procedural as well as object-oriented, you need to understand the difference between the two. Anyone who can help over here, help your teammates, build a connection. Anyone who knows about procedural languages, what is a procedural language, programming language, and how they are different from object-oriented? Let me see, has anyone answered that? Okay. So, procedural and object-oriented, these are two different terms. In procedures, you could say there is a programming model, which is derived from kind of like a structured programming, there are different procedures which are called, and these procedures, these are called as routines as well, or subroutines or functions which are there. And it's simply steps, the computational steps in there. Object oriented, we already talked about. The whole programming paradigm is centered around objects, right? So that is one difference. Yes, see, procedures, more emphasis. Yes, exactly. Good. It's step by step process. Yes, very nice. I think I don't have any open questions left over here. So as a Python developer, how can you change your career path to Java? Yeah, so you already are aware of Python, so it would not be very difficult for you to switch to Java. Fine, so the fundamental will be easy for you. The roadmap remains the same for any kind of not any kind, means if you're starting with Java at any stage, the roadmap is the same, you need to. So for the course details, we'll have counselors get in touch with you. So as a backend developer, one does not need to worry about front end or MERN. And to what extent, you tell me, if you are the backend developer, if you are not trying to move into front end developer, or you want to become a full stack developer, no need to be worried about that, right? But if you want to have that security, if you want to stand out among the rest, I think go for full stack development. It's going to really show you how efficient you become to an organization with, when you can handle both of the things. Even I say three of the things together at one point. So there, I think I've put into note earlier also for the frameworks, go for Spring or Hibernate, right? So I think it's time for us to wrap up the session. And I see we've answered all of your questions which you have. Anything which is related to course, the course fee, we'll have a counselor. Fine, Pritesh, can you take over?
Sure, Swati. Thank you so much, first of all, for this amazing session and for patiently answering all the queries of the learners, right? I believe the learners are also happy with the kind of, interactive session that we had today. And I would also like to thank the learners who have taken out time on a Saturday morning, right? They would have chosen to do anything else apart from, upskilling or learning, but they chose to actually join this webinar. This shows that somewhere, they have that intention to learn and grow, right? Having said that, I would like everyone, I'll like to give clarity to everyone in terms of what Unique Aksha is doing in that direction to help learners to achieve their goals and get to, their dream career. What do we do? Right. And speaking in the context of today's session, we have a program which is into full stack development. I would like to just give you a brief in terms of the program and how things work at Unique Aksha. So basically, like I already mentioned, we are an upskilling platform, right, for learners who are looking for growth, right? What we do is in our program, we help you gain all the necessary skill sets that Swati just spoke about, what it takes to become a successful developer, full stack developer. Everything is covered in this program. Now, this program, the key USP of this program is that we have mentors like Swati and a whole team that is going to train you, right? So we have people from the industry who have a good amount of experience on working on large scale projects. These are the people who are going to train you. right? And this is a certified program, so you receive a certification after you complete this program. Also, all our sessions are live sessions, like you noticed today. All our sessions are very interactive sessions, right? And the entire curriculum is designed in a manner that, you know, all that is currently in trend or what is required for a successful career is covered in this program. Okay, so whoever who is interested in, you know, knowing more about the program and want to consider actually, you know, upskilling themselves, I would quickly request you to, you know, put it in the chat box, or we'll be you know, launching a poll there. You can you know, ask us to connect with you, and then we can take it forward from there. We'll ask our counselors to connect with you, and then we can take it forward from there. I saw a couple of people asking in the Q&A section, what's the price structure, what will be covered, you know, what are the technologies that are going to be covered. So everything will be answered by our counselors. If you have slightest of the interest to upskill yourself and take your career to the next level, I would request you to go ahead and, you know, request a callback from the counselor. I have launched the poll quickly. If everyone can fill that up. Okay, I would be closing the poll quickly if everyone can fill it. Great. So with that, I think it's a wrap for today's session. I wish you all the very best, and we can connect soon in the next webinar, or our counselors will connect back to you. Thank you and have a good Saturday. Bye.